You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
All right. Hello. Good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, goodbye. Hello. Welcome along wherever you are watching us from. This is LTID TV 1 from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us, and feel free to join in the comments and enjoy the fun. Or if you are listening to this via your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much for lending me your ears. I appreciate you cleaning them before you did so. Right, let me just click that. And I have to make an apology, first of all, because what I hadn't realised was that I'd set it for 8:30 this morning, this show. And whilst I can't say that I wasn't up at that time, I was, of course, doing a breakfast show. The Battle of the Breakfast Show host this morning, guys. I'm very much the butterbean, and we're going to be getting Mike Tyson on in a minute. That's the difference between us, just to work it out. Basically, as you can see there, Talking Foxes with Ady Dalman. If you live in Leicester or you have a smart speaker and you listen to Radio Leicester, he's the boy, or the man, I should say, boy, he'll love me. He's the man that wakes you up every morning. Just don't tell your husband, because he shouldn't know about these things. But he's the other man in your life getting you up in the morning. We're going to welcome him in. I've just very formal say apologies, like I say, to Jason. Has the lad just forgot he's got a stream to do? I hadn't, Jason, but that was at 8:30 this morning when you posted that. Lucas said hi. John said evening. Got the time right this time, John. Thank you very much. I corrected myself. Spencer's in. Hi, Spencer. How are you? Nice to see you. And Andreas, good evening to you as well. Let's get him in. He is the man, the myth, the legend, if you like, Ady Dalman.
Wow.
Ady,
wow. I tell you what, that Chris is some introduction, that is, mate. That is I'll send you that five. I'll make sure you get that tomorrow.
You're going to live up to it now, mate.
What honestly, mate, Chris, thank you so much for asking me. I'm so chuffed to be honest till I die. I feel like I've properly finally made it. I've been like, right, I've got a little girl on daddy daycare tonight. The wife's away working in Glasgow, so I was like, right, been wearing her out all day. She's been doing laps around the garden, chasing the dog to make sure that she's fast asleep. I've got on the baby cam in front of me, got a little pint on. I'm all ready to talk about all things Leicester, and it's just a right good treat to be with you this evening.
can I just say, well, thank you very much for that. I'm a little bit worried that your wife has gone away and left you alone in charge of the baby.
You know what? When this all came about, so she's up in Glasgow, so she works for the Royal, and so she's up there, and she's doing much more important things than I do, and she says, right, you know, you should see it, Chris. I've got like a list. Like it's like military precision of where I've got to be at what times. The monster-in-law's been an absolute angel. Normally she's a little treasure, we just don't know where to bury her. But she's been brilliant. She's been absolutely brilliant.
Oh.
So she was round there. Eden had a sleepover at her granny's last night. And at some point tonight, the monster-in-law's out running. She's gone out with a running club. And it could be at any point she's coming in through that kitchen door. She's having a sleepover tonight, so I can get up at 4 a.m. and go to work. Because I don't know if you've ever tried it, but you can't really. It's frowned upon a bit if you've got a 3-year-old and you just say, well, you know, if you could get yourself up, get breakfast, and get yourself down to nursery in the village, that'd be great. It don't end very well, things like that. So everything's looking good. Everything's all right, Chris.
Well, can I just say, you see, I can sit here with a smug smile on my face because I've got 4 kids. But the youngest ones are now 25. So I've gone past that. They've moved out. They've got boyfriends. One of them's got a wife now as well. So they just get on with that. And I've told them, you know, when it comes to babysitting, that is fine. But I'm not doing nappies. I've done enough of nappies in my time. In fact, they came because I had all my children, because I wanted them very close together so that they could all get on. We actually got a thank you note off the dustbin men when we finally got the girls after nappies. It had been literally for 5 years nappies. But look, you come very highly recommended. I say you obviously have Kate on from my coach.
I love Kate. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
really is a lovely. Don't tell her I said this because she'll think I like her. But she's a really lovely girl. Knows her stuff. She does know her stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why I have her on, basically. But look, we're both Leicester fans. We've both got a pint.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, yeah.
Cheers. And I think we're probably going to need a lot of those next season, aren't we?
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it, Chris, to be honest with you, because it's the Leicester way, isn't it? It's always the Leicester way, that we never make anything easy for ourselves. So I'm waiting with bated breath to see about this points deduction. I've heard everything from 15 to 20 points to, you know, if you believe the real kind of like the real people down in the dumps, anything up to minus 500. But like it's just one of those things. We never make things easy for ourselves. No, but still, I've still got that little air of optimism. I'm still confident. I'm still positive about it all. I still think that we'll be all right. I still think that if we can get a new gaffer in, if we can get a new manager in, get things sorted, get some players tied down, this siege mentality of little old Leicester, I feel like we'll be all right. I think we'll be all right.
You see, I'm a great conspiracy theorist. So you see, what I've worked out is that they're going to take these points off us. So we're going to be sort of in the bottom 3, if not bottom, for quite a long time. We'll then do the Great Escape. And then next season we'll go on and win the Premier League. It's all set up for us, isn't it?
Could you imagine it? They'd 80s, wouldn't they? The Premier League at 80s even more if that happened. It's just, I don't know. When have we ever done anything easy, Chris? When have we ever done anything easier? We never have. We've never done it. And I just feel like, for me last season watching them, they seem like a proper team. They seem like a real proper team that are in it together. I know when you heard like Connor Cody at the end of last season saying they had these chats in the dressing room and all the players were getting together and this kind of like these leading blokes that they've got there in that dressing room.
Yeah.
I feel like going into next season with that, I feel we'll be all right. I feel like if everyone's fighting for the badge, there's one person who's kissed his badge and was kissing the badge and saying how much he loved Leicester, and he's gone Chelsea now, so we ain't got to worry about him. I feel the rest of them are more committed. I feel the rest of them actually mean it, and I think, and I really hope that will see us through. I think that's going to get us through next season. I think genuinely, I think we're going to be absolutely fine. And yeah, granted, let's be right, it's going to be 15 points at least in it that we're going to be deducted. I would think. I
look at this and they say they're going to throw the book at us. And I think what's annoying, certainly from my point of view, and I think, well, most fans, is that, look, if we broke the rules, we've broken the rules. You know, there's no way when you finish fifth and eighth do you, work into your accounts that you might get relegated. It's not on the radar, and surely they've got to understand that. But Chelsea, the likes, aren't getting these fines. But the likes of Nottingham Forest, Everton, who aren't what they used to be, and like the smaller clubs, if you like, we are getting picked on. It's almost like the bully at school, isn't it?
I do feel like you look around, don't you? And you look around at other clubs and what's happened, and there's nothing. There's not a lot going on.
No.
And if we break the rules, fair enough. If we break the rules, that's fair. Then we deserve it, and that's fine. However, I do think there's got to be, as you say, you can't go fifth, eighth, and then relegate, because that was never on the cards, was it? No one could have predicted that. It is almost as much as predicting that we'd win the Premier League. It's just one of those things where it does feel like winning the Premier League made us absolutely public enemy number one with the big boys. And since then, you look at all the fallout from the European Super Leagues, you look at all the kind of the rules and regulations that go with the top six, and it's because we upset the apple cart. I'm sure of it. I'm sure that is why.
Well, I had a gentleman on here at the back end of last season, Gavin McGaw, and he is I can't remember which club he was from, but he used to be on the EFL board. So he was involved. He wasn't high up, but he was involved in the meetings and knew what was going on. He actually used to go on Talk TV a lot.
Right.
And I was on a show with him on Talk TV on a Sunday night on Mark Sager's show. And I invited him on mine, and he came on, and he was very upfront and, was very honest about things. And I said to him, like, the FA picking on us and they didn't want us to win. And he actually said, look, the FA love the fact that we won the Premier League. They use that in videos and stories of, look, this is what English football is all about. He said it's the big six clubs that didn't like us winning the Premier League. And when I was reading a story, it was I think it was in the Telegraph, just after we won the league, and they had a meeting, and it was a Manchester City guy, I believe, but certainly from one of the top six clubs, that actually stood up at the meeting and said, right, we can't let this happen again. And you're thinking, like, it annoys me so much.
Yeah. I'm with you. I kind of feel resigned to the fact that whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and we're going to get it on. But we're Leicester. We'll be all right. We'll see it through. And we don't care, do we? We'll upset as many people as we want on the way out of it. And that'll make it even sweeter. That'll make it even better when we stick two fingers up to everybody else and we survive and go on a mad run and qualify for Europe next season.
Well, exactly. If not win it, like I said. I know it was Nottingham Forest, but I was really glad they stayed up having had the points deduction. And I think the table last season was being decided by guys sat round a table, not by what was going on the football pitch. And whatever we get, and I know sort of, Top's gone to the law courts and all this, that, and the other. But at least we've got, in fairness, hopefully got the whole season to try and claw that back.
Yeah. It'd be a real signal, wouldn't it, if we were just above the relegation zone. 5 games to go. We know that we've got to win 4 out of the last 5. The pressure and it'd be awful. That'd be horrible. So at least we know that wherever we're starting at ground zero, and the only way is up from that. And like I say, I've got a really, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because it's instilled to you from an early age that this is the Leicester way or what. But I've speak to some of my mates down the pub, like, well, bloody hell, we're down before we've even kicked a ball. What's the point? Everyone's after us. Well, I agree. It does feel like everyone's after us. I don't think that it's going to be that bad. It will be bad, of course it will. But as we start talking a few points, again, a few points on the board, new outlook. This team that we've got at the minute seems to be sticking together really, really well and playing like a team. I think we're going to be all right.
I think, I would be more worried, like I say, if it was later in the season. But if we can get it sorted out early, and I look and think, well, it was 9 points for Sheffield United, I think it was when they went into administration. This isn't going into administration. We are not in any financial trouble at all. We've got the money, as Kate always says, we're just not allowed to spend it according to the rules. It's interesting, though, that Manchester City is suing the Premier League now, saying that they're discriminating against clubs that are owned by companies and countries in the Gulf.
It just feels like the Premier League has got nothing on EastEnders. Do you know what I mean? Like it feels like a bit of a soap opera, doesn't it? When you look at it and you get these breaking news kind of notifications and this has happened, this has happened. When's this going to stop? This is batter. This is absolutely batter. Whatever next, and I'm sure there'll be more little snakes and turns before the start of the season as well. But it does feel like it's a bit of a panto, doesn't it? It is a bit of a panto without it's all ran and what's happening.
It so is. I mean, the latest news, and as Neil says here, we need to remember that Everton and Chelsea and Man City also could be in the same boat. Don't think Man City will be somehow. I think they've got enough brown envelopes saved up, allegedly. But just saying on Sky today, they've said 6 Premier League clubs may need to sell players this month to avoid PSR breaches. And that includes, as well as us, Villa, Chelsea, Everton, Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. So I don't think, as Neil said there, I don't think it's just going to be us that are going to be with a points deduction.
No. And where does it stop then? Where does it stop then? Because all of a sudden then what they've got to be really careful of is, as if you say, if Man City have allegedly got these 115 counts or whatever, there's nothing happening to them, yet the ones towards the bottom end of the league are being, strung up for it all and being made examples out of. All of a sudden, you could have a bit of a mutiny on your hands. All of a sudden, it could be that it just turns ugly, doesn't it? It turns ugly. Yes. The fans start turning ugly at games because they're disgruntled and rightly so. It could almost make you fall out of love with it a little bit. That it is a circus. It could well easily turn into a bit of a circus.
When I was on, the Mark Saggers show on Talk TV, before me, and unfortunately they didn't keep him on. They took him off before and then got me on. They had Rick Parry on, who was in charge of the EFL, and I nearly swore honestly on national television. I said BS, so I managed to stop myself. But what he was saying, and I was looking at him, and he's saying about the Premier League this and whatever, and he was the guy that set up the Premier League. He was the guy. And now look, I'm 63 years old. I can remember going to Filbert Street on a Sunday night to watch Chelsea because the Tigers were playing on the Saturday. And they were worried about security. We had the pens in the double decker. I was on I was in pen 1 because I was with my mate who was built like the proverbial outdoor toilet. So I thought I was safe. 6 Chelsea fans broke in from pen 1 into pen 2. And we all ran into the corner. Leicester never doing what Leicester, they never do what you want them to do. They went and scored. Flares were going off in the family stand. Half time. I said, I've had enough. I'm just not enjoying this. And Chelsea had equalised, thank God. I couldn't get out. They locked the doors in those days. I opened the safety, God help us. I couldn't get out. I had to get a copper to come, and he opened the door, and he's like, run. And there was a stabbing that night. So when you look at that, and that was in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, football as a product, I would never take my kids back to football back then. They've all been to football matches with me now. That side of it is brilliant. It is just the running of it, isn't it?
It does feel like, but I don't think I've ever known a year quite like it. I think can you remember with the first points deductions happening? It's like, what is this? What, they're going to dock points? And now, like you just said then, Chris, it sounds like they're gonna go around docking points. It could be for 8 to 10 teams. Like it just. I don't know. It makes me question it a bit. I love football, like you say. My earliest memories of going down double-decker, mid-90s, 93, 94 season around there with my dad and my grandpa and going down to Filbert Street. And you kind of the smell of the hot dog and the cigarette smoke and getting a programme and that classic blue shirt with the Walker's crisps on it and watching Ian Ormonroyd and David Oldfield and Neil Lewis and, you know, all those players.
Yeah.
And from then, I've always just adored it. I've adored football and I've been lucky enough to go every season since then. But what's going on at the minute? It just, I don't know. It just makes me scratch my head a little bit. It just makes me think it's not a cheap sport anymore, is it? It's not a cheap game, and you kind of just think to yourself, what is going on? Surely they want to be packing in as many fans as they possibly can for the Premier League and Premier League tenses, and football fans will always be there, I'm sure. But if it continues as it is, I think a lot of people will slowly fall out of love with the game because it does seem like a bit of a witch hunt for certain teams.
It's not a working man's game anymore. You know, I mean, like I say, I've got 4 kids and I lived in Burnley for 20 years. And my kid, I've got 2 boys and then twin girls. The boys are the eldest. And they were both mascots for Leicester. That was back in the day when the club only had one mascot. At the away club at Burnley, because I worked for the local paper. We had a good relationship with Burnley, and they were a really lovely club. And we always used to go and watch Preston, which was down the road. And it was £1 a child. It was always a family game for them. So I could afford to take all 4. You couldn't afford to don't have 4 children and want to take them all to the football, mate. You need a mortgage.
No, you're right. I mean, it used to be like the Monday night football, didn't it? Do you remember that? The reserve games at Filbert Street, the Pontins League or whatever it was called. And that I remember my dad taking out and rushing back from work and like, you know, a garden centre out in Cossington, getting back, you know, even having a quick bath, everyone back in the car, parking behind my uncle's shop on King Richard's Road, getting down legging it down Filbert Street to watch that. And that used to be like a real treat to be down there. Sometimes seeing football twice a week because it was a lot more affordable, wasn't it? Your little team sheets that were given out beforehand, and it was just like those magical days. And I just don't know. I just don't understand where it's going.
You remember when we had COVID and they kept saying, "Oh, we missed the fans," and it's not the same without the fans. As soon as the fans came back, they shafted us again, didn't they? It was, it's ridiculous. But so, I grew up. My first memories of Leicester were the back end of Jimmy Bloomfield's career,
right?
Of his team, which was a brilliant team. Never won anything, of course, but an absolutely brilliant team. I used to live opposite Len Glover,
right? Yeah.
Not that I ever smelt anything coming from his house, but that's another story. Check the papers out, guys, if you don't know. But I used to take his dogs for a walk. Lovely, lovely guy. And that was sort of the era that I grew up in. And it's basically, like you said at the start, it's a roller coaster ride. I was talking to Rob Tanner, who you probably know, and who writes Leicester for The Athletic. And he'd just gone on holiday when Enzo decided he was leaving. And he said to the club, why do you always do something when I'm on holiday? and they said, it's because everything's always happening at the club. There's always something going on. What's your earliest memories?
My earliest memories was a double decker. And I remember that I think Leicester were playing West Brom. And I remember I went down and it was my dad, my Uncle Steve, and my Uncle Steve's best mate, Andy. And Andy's got head of hair like mine. He, this is going back, like I say, mid-90s, and I'd have been 7 or 8. And so we're all on the way down there. Sat in the double decker, and my uncle and my dad, and Andy had gone for a pee, and they said to me, "Look, don't tell Andy, but he's lost all his hair and he's gone bald, and he's actually Gary Coatsworth's brother. And if you say anything to him, Gary Coatsworth will come and have a word with you after the match." Now, Gary Coatsworth was like this unit, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like down on the pitch. Yeah. So I remember for the first half just looking up at Andy's head thinking, don't tell him he's bold. I was Gary Coates was going to give you a clip around the ear, and it was that was the first memory I've got. And I seem to think we played West Brom. I've got an inkling of, and it was then that this love affair began. Really, I remember going to Wembley, the silence of the Rams in '94 with Walsh, scoring both those goals. That was probably one of the first 5 games that I was lucky enough to go to. So it'd been about 7 or 8, and from then my grandpa, like I say, the old man was always busy at the Garden Centre on a Saturday. So my grandpa would take us down, would take me down. We got a season ticket. The days of when you'd queue up like overnight down at Filbert Street, he'd go down there, he'd go and queue up for the tickets, and get a season ticket. That first season that we were in the Premier League, and we would go. Me and my grandpa would go. Some days my dad would take me on the midweek matches, and of course there was a lot of glory days around that time. There's the League Cup. I mean, there's a lot of bad times as well. Don't get me wrong, but it was a happy life being a primary school kid as a Leicester City fan, when all your mates were Man U fans and things like that. And those earliest memories, like I say, it's always been about. I'm a Glenfield boy, living in Glenfield. My grandpa would pick me up. We'd park behind Damon's DIY down on King Richard's Road. We'd walk down the canal. We'd get to the ground, have a stick of juicy fruit on the way, buy a programme. Just the happiest memories of going down and watching the Blues.
I can remember my first game. It was an evening game. It was a friendly pre-season. We were playing Red Star Belgrade, as was then, in the old Yugoslavia. And I think they were European champions. And we beat them 3-0 or 3-1, one of them. And I remember walking home and the guy stuck his head out of the car and said, "What was the score?" And I went 3-1. He went, "F off." And I don't know how I got into football, because none of my family was into football, but, it just drew me in. And like I say, I mean, one of the presenters on this channel, again, Luke, he's an Australian. He's very, very young. So he's quite new to following Leicester, but his family's from Leicester. And, he got quite upset, the fact that the good news isn't getting promoted and the bad news that Enzo's gone. And I said, "Got to get used to it, mate. This is Leicester."
Yeah. It's the Leicester way. There's an element of me that thinks, like, when we won the league, it kind of ruined us a little bit, because you did get these fans, haven't you? You got these fans now where it's like, "What do you mean? These magical things don't happen every season." It's like, it does not happen like that every season. We've seen some utter dirge down there. We've had some right bad times. I remember going down when it was the Walkers Stadium, and I could get no one to go down with me. We got 2 season tickets. It was the game we played Preston. No one wanted to come. No one could be asked. And I remember watching Andy Lonergan hit that ball, the goalie hit the ball. It bounced over Kevin Pressman's head and went in. And I remember sitting there on my own and thinking, I'd still much rather be here than anybody anywhere else. I've just watched one goalie score against another goalie, and this is crap. This is rubbish. But it's still my crap. It's still my crap.
Exactly.
It's still my rubbish. And I think it is. That's the part of it, isn't it? That they are our Leicester, that they are our team, and they'll always be this roller coaster, the Enzo kind of fiasco and things like that. It's just another little chapter in the story that is Leicester City.
I'm going to play devil's advocate now, because I'm going to take it on the other side of that. And yes, you speak to any Leicester fan of a certain age, and they've all got stories like, of the downward. A lot of fans like, well, you've not supported Leicester, you've not been down to Yeovil on a wet Tuesday in the third tier. But then we had moments like, I don't know, you can't see it on here because of the shape of the screen, but I've got the Premier League, not the Premier League trophy, but Premier League trophy behind me. And I was there when, Bocelli was singing Nessun Dorma. I was crying, hugging a guy next to me that I didn't know from Adam. And my son couldn't make it because my son was at uni and he'd got his finals coming up and what have you. So he couldn't make it. So Birch's son got me a ticket, because the season before, because I lived down just outside Bournemouth. And the season before, I'd got a season ticket. My son had got a season ticket, and we travelled up every home game, and to watch them. And then we'd have like a 3.5 hour journey back home after the game, having lost because we were losing every game.
Yeah.
We stayed up, which was amazing. Son was off to university, and I thought, I can't afford this to watch us lose every week. And of course, we've gone and won the bloody thing again, which is typical Leicester. But those were the moments. And then I've watched my team with my son walk out to the Champions League music. I've watched us in the quarter-final of the Champions League. We've won the FA Cup. I've been in tears with my son when, we won the FA Cup, and I couldn't look at him. I turned away. Because I can remember the 69. That was, my first FA Cup memory. And then I turned around, and he's 25, and he was crying as well. Those moments, I'll give you, if you said to me now, you can have those moments, but at the end of it all, you're going to get relegated. Give them me.
I think it stretches so much further, doesn't it, than football as well? Because I always say that they're my adoptive clan, and I'm so lucky that I watch football now with the McCroby family, and they invite me, and they are my adoptive family, and I've been to weddings, and I've been to funerals, and I've been to everything else in between births with this family that I never knew I really had. I never knew I had them, and I love them, and I think so much of them, and I get to go and watch football with them, which is magical. And exactly like you say there, Chris, I never dreamt that I would be with some blokes I'd never met 10 years ago, and I'd be in Madrid watching Leicester take on Atletico and having some of the best days of my life with. And I think the beers beforehand and the fact that they've adopted me as one of their own, the football comes into that as well, and it's just this most magical concoction that you can think of. And like you say, if someone has said to you, do you know what? You're going to see Leicester win the Premier League. They're going to win the Community Shield. They're going to win the FA Cup. They're going to be in the semi-final of the Champions League. You're going to have everything else that goes with it. You're going to have massive, massive highs. But then you're going to get the bill for it. And you're going to go down, and there are going to be some bad times, and you're going to come back up, and there's going to be a points deduction. You'd still snap their hands off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd still have it. You'd still take it. Seeing all of that, it'll never ever happen. It will never happen again. It just those magical times. But if someone had written it down, you'd have laughed at them and said that will never ever happen. And you look as well at everything else that's gone on at the club as well, and the times that the club has been through, the helicopter crash, of course, as well, with Convershy, the tragedy that has been put upon the club. Yeah, here we still are. And I think that, as you say, it is just the roller coaster and the fairy tale that is Leicester City.
It is. And I mean, I can say I live down and work in Bournemouth, and I was down here when we won the Premier League. I actually sat back to back with a Spurs fan. That whole season was like non-stop banter. Neither of us thought that we would go on and win it. Because Leicester, we shoot ourselves in the foot. We'd never win it. And. I had a coat on with a Leicester badge. Everybody I used to bump into wanted to speak to me, and it's Leicester. I remember going into the bank in Bournemouth, and someone said, Leicester City saw the badge. Leicester City, Vardy, Mahrez. I said, I said, what team do you support? She said, I can't stand football. But she knew about it because we were getting calls. I remember getting a call from, I think it was Japanese TV. Then could I go on and do a Zoom and what have you? And I couldn't. And I rang up another podcaster and said, can you do this? He said, well, if you can do New Zealand TV for me on the Friday, I can do that for you on the Wednesday or whatever. It was unreal. And like you say, we would take it again 100% of the time.
I think the biggest thing that stands out with me, one of the biggest things that stands out for me as well, is that season, and being with my adoptive clan, as I call them, I was lucky enough that my father-in-law came to most of the home games with me. We've sadly lost him since then, very, very suddenly. But he was there, at every game of watching us win that Premier League and going to the Champions League. And I look back on that, and I always remember that we got a bit of an issue, because I got married on the 14th of May 2016. Now, the final game, the home game of the season, was Leicester and Chelsea, which was the 15th of May. And I remember saying to my wife that we might not be able to go on honeymoon the day after. We got married on the 14th. We flew to Bali on the 15th for our honeymoon, to Singapore side. And I said, look, we're going to have to look at postponing it, because if it goes to the final game of the season, when you book a wedding 2 years ago and it's the Great Escape season, you never dream you're going to win the Premier League, do you? And luckily, it didn't get to that stage, did it? But I do remember that my wife was like, this wedding ain't even going to happen. You're going to have to pack your bags, mate. You know, I can't even believe that you're thinking about this. But I was like, hang on a minute, like, Leicester City might win the Premier League. Like, let's be reasonable about this in there. This is never going to happen again. No. It could be that we just might have to postpone the wedding, or we might just have to move it back a bit. Luckily, Big Wes, the week before, lifted that Premier League trophy up into the sky. And like you say, Chris, Bocelli, that rain, Everton, the party afterwards, the Vardy bombs that went with it. I mean, I hope she's not watching this, but the wedding was the second happiest day of my life. And,
I was going to say, you can tell your wife is in Glasgow, and you can. Yeah. I'm also impressed that after you suggested that to her, that she still married you.
You know, two of the happiest days of my life in the space of a week. So you know, when you look at it makes us feel all lovely.
You can change, you know, your car, you can change your job, you can even change your partner, but you can't change your football club.
No, you can't. And for my little girl now, that's it for her. She's got no choice. She's had a she had every year now since she was born, and unfortunately for Eden, that is it. Leicester City are her club now, whether she likes that or not as she grows up. And it's quite nice now, because whenever there's football on the telly, she will say, Leicester, and it could be anybody. It could be anybody.
And you have a huge smile on your face, don't you?
The fact that she's like as rough as her dad as well, and the way she says it with the Leicester. I always tell people, I was like, oh, Eden's a nice name. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, Eden Hazard, when he scored that goal and Chelsea beat Tottenham, and it meant we were Premier League champions. And sometimes people look at you and say, she really called her Eden after Eden Hazard, like, you know. And it's not, by the way, but it's
I thought it was.
Not that one in behind the wife as well, but it like you say, you're exactly right, Chris. It's the fact that your football team is your football team, and you can't change that. You can't change that.
No, you can't. You can't at all. I mean, when I had my children, I was living in Burnley, like I say, at the time. And I said to them, to the boys, I want you to follow football, because I follow football. The eldest one did, the second one not so much, but he's getting into it now. But I said, look, I'm going to take you to Burnley, because that was the local team. They were then known as Burnley Nil. It was when they had Chris Waddle in charge. They were bloody awful. I said to him, look, if you want to support Burnley, because that's where you're born, I completely get it. Totally 100% get it. All your friends probably support, school support Burnley. I said, if you want to support Leicester, because I support Leicester, and you want to see your dad, etc., I get that as well. But you ain't supporting Liverpool, Man United, or any of them just because they're on the telly. And I remember Leicester playing Burnley, and Leicester scored. And I looked round at my eldest, Sean, and he just sort of going like, yes. And I thought, I've got him. I've got him. But
do you know Burnley, my producer Rob, who is such an integral part of the breakfast team, and someone that I think the absolute world of, as you know, Chris, like when you've got a producer, you absolutely are dependent on them. And I get everything from not only working with him, I'll get parental advice from him. I'll run things by. We'll go out for beers. But he's a claret. He is a claret, and he's a Burnley fan, and he's proper from Hoop North, Pies, Peas and a bit of tatter. He's a proper Northerner. And so to hear you talk about Burnley and to hear about the fairs of the Clarets is something that I'm very familiar with. And I've been up Turf Moor as well. It's colossal, isn't it? It's massive, Turf Moor. It's just like there. So here in Burnley, I'm gutted that they've gone down and we've gone up, because I wish they'd have survived, just because to have Leicester and Burnley and to watch the game with producer Rob would be it would be absolutely magic.
One of my best mates, and he also does a YouTube channel of Turf Moor House TV. He's obviously a Burnley fan and lives in Burnley, and it's amazing. Like, because when they came up, we went down and we were like waving at each other, and now we're doing it again. And I did say, because obviously last season was fantastic, and we'll come on to that in a second in more detail. But all season I was saying, let's not get carried away. Look at Burnley. If we go up, and this was even without any points deduction, they went up at the end of the day with more points than us, and they've come straight back down again. Yeah.
And I think there's been, but then you look, Company's gone to Bayern Munich. What's that all about? Like, kind of, there's again, it's just the pantomime of football, isn't it? It's why we love it. But I think, like I say, having a close mate and a colleague who's a Claret through and through. He even talks very often on there about is it Robbie Blake? Was he called Bad Beat Bob? He's got some Bad Beat Bob pants, and the apparently were all the rage up north. Chris, might have been before your time.
No, either that or he's winding you up.
Well, mate, I've seen him. That's all I'm saying, and we'll leave it there. I'm answering no more questions on that. But having come in of a Monday morning and City winning at the weekend and Burnley either losing and I think they were quite unlucky when you look at some of the results that they had. There was some games where I'll be texting like, mate, the Clarets are going to do it. They're going to do it, and they never did. They need to go against it.
I would have liked to have seen Luton stay up, because I do like to see these smaller teams come up and stay up.
That'd be nice.
I still see Leicester as a small club. What I love about football, though, and we're going to get on to sort of the recent history and then last season and everything that's gone on. What I love about football, it is the language of the world. I mean, I went to this is going to make me sound very posh, but it wasn't. I went on a cruise to Norway, and we went right up past the Arctic Circle and around the corner, and I saved up a long time. Right up north, past the Arctic Circle, round North Norway, and then from there we went 2 hours inland to try and see the Northern Lights. Never saw a bloody thing, but that's beside the point. They were in the middle of 2 hours inland from the sea in northern Norway. We were at this sort of campsite, which is just in the middle of a forest. It's totally in the middle of nowhere, because obviously you need to be able to see the Northern Lights. And I'd forgotten what I was wearing, because it was a little bit chilly in Norway. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the warmest place. And suddenly I'm stood there in front of the fire, warming myself, waiting for the lights to appear, and this guy suddenly starts going, "Oh, Leicester City, Jamie Vardy," and I just presumed it was somebody off the ship. Turn round, no, it was a local Norwegian guide or something that did these tours, and I'm like, what? And I'd forgotten I'd got a Leicester scarf tucked in my belt in case it got any colder. And he'd seen that, and he remembered Leicester City from when we won it. And that was like middle of bloody nowhere in Norway.
It's just mad, isn't it? Little old Leicester.
Yeah. But no, look, Leicester. We'd had a good season. What are your memories of Brendan? Because he came in and he didn't. I mean, look, he won. When I look back at it now, he won us the FA Cup. He won us the Community Shield. He got us to Europe twice. 2 fifth-place finishes. Never heard of that before. If we hadn't won the Premier League, that would have been the best thing since sliced bread. 2 fifth-place finishes. Semi-final of the European Trophy. and then it all went wrong. Do you remember him for the good times, or do the bad times leave a bit of a taste?
I think for me, being totally honest, I think this is quite. I think it's been quite paramount the last few seasons, not so much last season, but I think for me it's the downing of tools that seems upset me more than anything. And although I remember hearing when he first came, that he went around and he met every single person that worked for Leicester City Football Club, and he shook them by the hand, and he was great around the training ground. He knew everybody's name. He made everyone feel special. It seems like the Brendan effect was something that was gonna catapult us into the big leagues. You know, that we were like real contenders, and then it just went tits, didn't it? Let's be honest about it. It just went completely Pete Tong. And there was all that chat, wasn't there, like saying that, well, you know, if we sack him, he gets 10 million, so he's not going to resign. And I don't know if I bought into that too much. I don't know if I believe that or what, but it just felt like everyone stopped trying. Then you saw the cracks in the dressing room, didn't you? Then you saw how the players were responding to it. And yeah, I appreciate that he brought us some magical times. I wonder as well, though, Chris, if there's an element as well, because we talked about COVID and earlier on, and about the fact that being at the FA Cup final, I was so fortunate to be there, and I got to watch that thanks to my brother-in-law who works for the club and couldn't make it. And they said, "We can give you a ticket to a relative." I still owe him a kidney for that, you know, and he'll always be on that list. But going down to that, there was only, what was it, 20,000 fans at Wembley for the FA Cup final. It was still those dark days. And I wonder if that overshadows it a little bit, that it wasn't that big magical Wembley day, you know, that day out on Wembley Way where it's painted blue and white, and that the air's on the back of it, it's electric, it's crammed, it's the bus is going down there. It just felt like a lucky few got to see, like a lottery almost, that you were there and you got to see it. And I don't know if that overshadowed it a little bit, and that's why we forget about the FA Cup a little bit. But then the Community Shield happened. Will we ever win that again? Probably not. And I don't know. For me, I look back at it and I perhaps think of the bad times. I think that I look back at it and think I felt that it became a bit of a Mexican standoff between the club and Brendan Rodgers. And I've got no idea if that's true whatsoever. But for me, I was like, something should have happened a bit sooner. And then we got Dean Smith in. You know what? Like, it was bizarre, wasn't it? I'd love to have been a fly on the wall at the club for that. You know, those 3 or 4 months or so.
I mean, I look. We've got the best owners anywhere in football, anywhere in the world. I honestly think we've got the best owners, but they get things wrong.
Yeah,
and I criticise. I was never calling for them to leave the season before last when we got relegated, but I was calling them out if I thought they were doing something wrong. And yes, I mean, you do tend to remember, whether it's players or management, you do tend to remember the most recent times rather than the good times, because they're most recent in your memory. But I remember, you know, Brendan saying we're going to get all these players in, and then it never happened. And we didn't know why nothing happened that summer. You know, we ended up eventually selling Fofana, who then went on, broke his leg and hardly played since. That's a shame, isn't it? Oh, could I say that out loud? But we got Voughton, but that was it basically. And I couldn't understand why. And then when you saw the notes in the programme for the Man United game, which was on the same night as the transfer window was shutting, when Top finally came out and said, look, we were warned we couldn't spend, otherwise we got back into Europe and all that. And I'm thinking, if Top had come out and said straight away, look, this is what's going to happen this summer, the fans would have said, fine, fair enough, Top, we trust you. And he did that. But then he went and did it again, allegedly, with Enzo. You know, and you're thinking, but then again, when you go for a job, does an employer ever tell you the bad side of things?
No. And
welcome to you. Love working there. You get a bonus. You get your birthday off. Oh, by the way, the toilets don't work.
Yeah. That's, and I think that's. I mean, you look at what the owners have done for the club, and I the training facilities, the best days of our life as Leicester City fans. And yeah, I appreciate that it's not been ideal, perhaps with some of the transfer markets and where the money's gone, but it's all come out now that really we've been in the doo-doo for a little bit, haven't we? You know, we've kind of, this has been an ongoing problem. And talking more current times of Enzo, I don't know about that. I think we were a stepping stone for Enzo, and I think it's that has left that has left a worse taste in my mouth than Brendan, if I'm honest.
Yes, I think so. I just want to say hi to Static. I've not seen him for a season because we've been down. Static, thanks very much for your kind words. And as you just said, then timing was perfect. As for Maresca, that was totally unacceptable. To me, I appreciate when Mahrez left us. He left us with a bit of a sour taste in his mouth, going on strike, sitting down at Paris airport, waiting for his agent to ring him. But after we won the Premier League, he did give us another season. He did give us the Champions League.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Which we probably wouldn't have done that well without him. Kante, I love Kante as a player. I love what he did for us at the club and winning the Premier League. But he couldn't wait to bugger off as soon as the season finished. And that has soured my memories of Kante. And it's the same with Maresca. Yes, look, we're always going to be a stepping stone. And what Chelsea have done to us, and we'll talk about who might come in a bit, but if we go for Corbyn at West Brom, we're only doing to West Brom what Chelsea are doing to us. It is that table. But it did. I did expect him to move on eventually.
Yeah.
Is it though? And I'm doing a video at the moment, and I've got a Bournemouth fan and West Ham and Arsenal, Man United, and Liverpool saying like, "Welcome back. This is what we think is going to happen for Leicester." And the Bournemouth fan Craig makes a very good point. Like, yes, he won the league, but you would have won the league with that team, wouldn't you, Ady?
Did you know? I couldn't put it better. I couldn't put it better. If I went to the away game at Preston, and it felt like relief. Like it was great. It was a party-like atmosphere. Obviously, we could have been crowned as champions, and that would have been absolutely magic. And it all happened. But I think if you ask Leicester City fans, were we going to get promoted this season at the start of last season? Yes. Yes was always. Anything less than a yes would have been, I think, unacceptable. It wouldn't have been good enough. Enzo's come in. He's done a great job. Some of his, I would say, some of the football has been a little bit questionable at some points, but he did the job. But I think for me, what I really hate, Chris, what I really, really hate is badge kissing. And Enzo, towards the end of the season, was doing that. And I wasn't at the parade. I was on holiday. I didn't go to the parade, but allegedly he was doing that up on the balcony. And then the next thing it was like, oh, Chelsea are interested. And it was like you couldn't see him for dust. He's gone. Yeah. He's finished. And I think that's what that annoys me a little bit, is that he's had this chance at Leicester. He's got this team. He's got us promoted. We're going up as champions. Now shows what you can do. Now let's look at this together. Let's go at it all as a team. But instead he's gone. 6 of his staff have gone. And it's just, I think it's soured. I definitely think it's soured it.
It has. And, I was one of the first ones that said, and I was getting to the point because it was dragging on, just F off and go if you just get it done with. We get out of our hair, but not that either of us have got much hair, but get out of it.
You got more than me.
I haven't got an awful lot more, mate. That's why I wear a hat, But he came in and. All right, I mean, I wouldn't have been totally against Dean Smith because he got the experience, but I think Dean Smith was kind of accepted because he came with Shaky. I think that was
I think you're right.
where we accepted him more, and the fact that it wasn't Jesse Marsh. But he didn't keep us up. He tried, he did his best, but I think it was I think Top had tried to give Brendan a bit of time, and he left it too late. And then suddenly, 6 days after lifting the Champions League trophy, Pep's assistant manager is walking through the door at Leicester. And we all went, wow, what brilliant. And it gave us that buzz back.
Yeah.
But then we started to look at, well, what experience has he got?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's what made it so exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's what made it. I think and I think that's what, again, it leaves such a bad taste. I think that Enzo Moraes, he played for West Brom, you know, here he is,
Yes.
and he's coming to Leicester, and he's the Messiah. He's going to get us promoted, and we knew absolutely bugger all about him. And that's why it was exciting, and that's why it was like, right, we've unearthed a gem here, and let's be honest about it, we had unearthed a gem to some respects. He did the brief. He got us promoted. But then it just kind of feels like he shafted us a bit. And he's just, all of a sudden, he's gone. And it's like, well, it's not very nice, is it? That's not, that's not cricket.
I think if he'd, it was all this, it's a project. I want a project, Well, a project isn't one season. You know what I mean? And you've said you want a project, and you've gone to a club that sacks a manager after he's won them the Champions League. They change the manager every couple of seasons. Yeah. They've taken a manager who's got the experience, all right? He's not won a lot of trophies, I don't think. But Pochettino, he's got the experience of the Premier League, and they've replaced him with Enzo, who hasn't got that much managerial experience. A season with us and 14 games with Parma. I don't know what Chelsea are doing. It's like Potter number 2 that they're trying. He'll be out of work by. I said I did a thing with the Chelsea fan. He had me on his channel, and he came on mine. And I think he was worried when I described how he likes to play the football or what have you. But I said to the Chelsea fan, I said, okay, he comes to Chelsea. In the League Cup, you get Manchester City and they knock you out before Christmas. You're sitting in January, you're sitting probably 12th or something like that, mid-table, because it's still trying to bed things in. And then in the third round, you get drawn against Arsenal, something like that. I said, and they knock you out. He's sacked, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that it will be, and I see it on social media, and everyone, and me included, feel a bit bitter about it all. Mm-hmm. However, I think he'll do all right. And I think it's because of that. I think that going there will be no pressure. Nobody expects anything of him. Everyone expects to be the first managerial casualty of the season, and somehow, and I don't know how, I think he'll have a good season. I think he'll get them playing. I think he'll use it as a stepping stone. Don't get me wrong, Chris. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does get. I hope that no one will be happier than me. But I feel that he's a clever enough bloke. He's got a great squad in front of him that were. You look at what did Pochettino? What did he get them playing? They were like the best form of their lives going Chelsea, weren't they? The best form of the season going into the last 10 games or so. If everything's clicking there, we all know what happened like when things start clicking and then you get a new manager in. And look at Pearson and Ranieri. There's that kind of element, I think, of a great team that's starting to finally click. And I think he might be all right.
I think another thing with Poch, and again, this is the other thing, and again, it's all rumours and what have you, but when I'm speaking to the Chelsea fan, Poch wanted more control over the squad. He wanted to say that he wanted this player in or he wanted that player in. And Bowley says, I think it was the case, well, look, I want a coach. I just want somebody that's going to coach the team. Me and me two, Coco the Clowns or whatever they're called, we'll do all that side. And yet here was Enzo who was saying to Leicester, I want more control, I want more say. And he's going to get none of that.
Yeah. I don't know, Chris. I don't know. Not a betting man, but I think Enzo will do all right. I think he's going to do all right. And,
I really hope he does it.
I know. I don't get me wrong. I've got the most horrible taste in my mouth about the whole thing, but I just got a feeling he's got nothing to prove. He's got nothing to lose. He's got him down to a 5-year contract, so financially, he's going to be all right, isn't it? He's not daft. He's not daft. So. Yeah, watch his space. It'll be really. I'm really interested to see how he gets on.
The question I'm going to say is there too much money in football? But I suppose the answer to that is almost obviously yes.
Yeah.
I was listening to or watching Nigel Pearson on a podcast he did with Sam Allardyce, obviously the best manager England have ever had, of course. And he was asked about why he went to Watford because of their history of sacking managers, and he'd actually turned that round at Watford when they sacked him. And he didn't actually say it in so many words. But what he was hinting was that I knew even if I got sacked, I would get a good payoff. And that's the thing. That's why Potter's not gone for another job in any hurry, because he's still getting a bloody good wage off Chelsea.
Yeah, look at Graham Potter. He's not done anything, has he? I don't think he's going to come to Leicester. I think he'll hold out for the England job. But managers don't have to rush back in, do they? There's massive money. Look, we're talking about Brendan earlier on. What was that? 10 million quid. They reckon was being touted in the papers. So, yeah, I think that the game is absolutely awash with cash.
I just think there's a manager's going in with no, well, if I don't do well and you sack me, you're still going to have to pay me off, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Talking about Enzo going, and we'll slowly start to come to the end with this one. But if you had to pick maybe three or who your favourite would be to take the job, we know who's favourites in the betting. We don't because it changes every day, literally. Who do you want to come in? Because in the past, I think Leicester have always gone for the best manager they could get.
Yeah.
That could often mean the changing style or what have you. So do we do that again, or do we go for somebody who maybe plays in the Enzo way, or do you want somebody completely left field that hasn't even been mentioned yet?
That's a good question. I don't know if I want to see someone come in that plays the Enzo way. I'm not sure about that. But my heart sang when someone said, I can't remember where I read it, but someone said, Esteban Cambiaso's on the list. And I was like, oh, you beauty. Oh, you beauty.
He has drifted out a little bit. He was 20-1. He's drifted out to 40 now.
But there's no chance of that then. But didn't Enzo at 28-1 when it was I mean there's no way, but the romantic in me was thinking, God, that would be a fairy tale, wouldn't it, if Cambiaso came back? But
it would give us that buzz like when we got Enzo, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And someone who knows how the club works, and he's magic, Chris.
I believe I've heard. How often have you played that song on your radio show?
Oh my word! Oh yeah. God, what a magician, and that would have been nice to see. I didn't believe it for a second, but like I say, the romantic in me thought, whoa, that'd be lovely. But do you know, Steve Cooper? As much as we hate Forest, and we all hate Forest, I felt bad for him when he got sacked. I felt really bad for him when he got sacked. And for me, I'd be well happy. I'd be well happy with that. I would not be the Forest Leicester thing. Not bothered about that. I think that if he came in, I think he'd do a magic job. Look what he did with. Was it the England under 21s or the under 23s? Or he did remarkable work with them, and I think he's a great manager. And when he got sacked at Forest, I thought, that's really bad form from Forest. I thought.
We have a guy come in the chat. He's not in tonight, unfortunately, but called Luke the True Red. He's a Nottingham Forest fan, but he's one of the nice ones. And there's not many. I don't know how we found him, but he is one of the nice ones. He was disgusted when they sacked Cooper. He did what he did with the England under 21s, 23s. I can't remember. He got Forest from near the bottom of the championship into the playoffs. All right, they won the final, didn't they? For a bit of a dodgy referee, but there we go. But look, he kept them up. And this guy that's coming now, Esperan, I can never remember say his name, but the ex-Wolves boss that's in there now.
Yeah.
He's done with Cooper's team, And look, when I very much said a while ago, Steve Cooper, Steve Cooper. And everybody said, no, God, no, he's Forest and all this. And I went, yeah, so was Wes Morgan. And yeah, so was Martin O'Neill. And, you know, Wes Morgan's a Blue, apparently, now.
Yeah.
So why can't we with Steve Cooper? If he does well and keeps us up, I won't give a damn where he's come from. But you see, to me, this season, it's all about staying up.
That's got to be this season. After last season, stay up, avoid relegation. If we can avoid relegation,
we go back down. The EFL are waiting for us with with the handcuffs. So we've got to stay up. So we can't go for an untried manager.
No.
So for me, I want a manager that can come in and keep us up, just maybe on a 2-3 year contract, and then look at the next manager maybe trying to get us back into the top half. But as I said, Steve Cooper I would love. And this is where people go mad in the chat when I say this. They hate me. David Moyes.
Yeah, do you know, I'm not averse to it. I'm not. I don't know.
West Ham up for 2 years, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a great job. He did a great job. He's not so much like Man U, but he did a good job at Everton. He's done a good job at West Ham. Do you know what? I'd support him. Of course I would do. I'd have Steve Cooper. I'd probably hope that they'd take a chance on Corberan after that if they didn't get Steve Cooper before they started looking at someone else. Potter's not going to come. That's it seems pointless talking about that. But David Moyes, I would not be adverse to it. I just don't know if he's Leicester. I don't know if he's the right fit.
West Ham fans were absolutely fed up with him. I'm sorry. He came to you, you kept him up, you sacked him then. At the end, he didn't renew his contract at the end of the season. Then he came up, and we've just got a Forest fan pop in. Dor on tour. Hi, Dor. How you doing? It's been a whole season. We will see you next season. Well done. First of all, Dor, well done at staying up. Dor, we've just been speaking about Cooper. Let us know your thoughts. Were you glad that he left? Are you sorry that he left? Because we're talking about we'd love to get him. So let us know your thoughts, Dor. Huge Forest fan. A very nice guy as well. And when we're not bantering. But, and then he came back again and kept them up again. He then got them into into Europe, won them the trophy that we couldn't. You know. And I don't care whether it was an extra time goal or in the last minute. That's how we won the FA Cup. And I just think he could keep us up for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, I would be Steve Cooper.
Hello, mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law is here. The mother-in-law is here now.
Hello.
The mother-in-law is there. Look, there she is.
Hello.
Look,
Hello.
The monster-in-law. We talked a lot about you tonight, Chris. A saviour. So the mother-in-law's here. Still got my baby cam here. Still watching, still making sure.
You're right.
Yeah. Chris needs no instruction. She's done a good job with 3 of her own. No, you won't see me in the morning. I'll see you tomorrow, Chris. I don't know about waking the monster-in-law up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Not be. See if she wants a cup of tea. But Steve Cooper. Bring Steve Cooper. If not, call Bran. Where I'd go after that?
Well, Mark Robbins. How do you fancy Mark Robbins?
Ex-City player, isn't he? He's
look what he's done at Coventry with a club that was in worse position than we've ever been in. No ground, and he's been there 8 years. He got them within, almost into the Championship Premier League. Nearly got them into the FA Cup final. Yeah, I wouldn't mind giving him a chance either.
No, I think that he had a great start to the season. I think the FA Cup. I think it zapped them, didn't it? I think after they played Man U, and they were unlucky, weren't they? The Scorpions were unlucky. What a comeback that was! And And I think that probably finished them. I think that kind of like, put real down on their season for them. But Mark Robbins, yeah, I'd probably take him over Moyes, if I'm honest. I mean, this is going to come back and haunt me in it one day when David Moyes is about as the new manager.
Yeah, I'm just writing these down and making
it. I can see this already. I'll have to come back on again, Chris. I feel optimistic. I feel happy. I think we'll get Cooper. And I'm happy with that. I feel going into the season, we'll be all right.
I have a feeling we will be all right as well. But I'm very conscious that, I'm going to be up to do the breakfast show, but I've only got to get from one room to the next. So for me, it's a very short walk because I do it from home. But conscious that you've got to get up at 4 o'clock. Ady, it's been absolutely great. I'd love to do this regularly if you wanted to.
I've had honestly, thank you so much for asking me. I've had a great time, and I'd love to come back on. I'd love that.
We will get you back on. Maybe we'll have to sort out some regular sort of show or something we can do, and then
you let. If we're talking Leicester City, I'm well happy. And as like I say, I hope you don't get too much stick in the comments that you've not put out, thinking, what does he know? He ain't got a bloody clue. It's been magic, mate. Thanks for asking.
You and me both. He did. I know you'd all like to listen to me on the radio, but do get over and check out Ady on BBC Radio Leicester's breakfast show. I'll let you go, Ady. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for asking me, mate. Cheers.
All the best. Take care. All the best. Bye bye. So thanks so much to Ady there. He's got to be up at 4 o'clock. He's got to be up at 4. Dor, I'm happy to do a show. I'll message you. We'll do a show. You can tell us all about Steve Cooper. It looks like his favourite to come on, to come to us. Apparently, he's being spoken to today. Neil, thank you so very much, mate. Thank you so very much. He actually, like I say, BBC Radio Leicester, if you're in the Leicester area or you've got a smart speaker. If you haven't and you don't live in Leicester, listen to surreyhillsradio.co.uk between 7 and 10 every weekday morning. But if you do live locally, Ady, a huge Leicester fan, as you can see. He does the breakfast show on BBC Radio Leicester. Do check him out. Nate says, great show, great guest. Take care. Thank you very much. We're going to be back. I don't know when. I'm going to be putting a video up. We're being welcomed back by a few fans. We've got, as I say, a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a Man United, a West Ham and a Bournemouth fan. All doing little short welcome videos. That will be going up probably tomorrow night. If Dor's up for it, we'll get him on and talk about Mr. Cooper, who does appear to be favourite now. And well done to Forest. All joking aside, look, I don't agree with the points deduction you got. I don't agree with points deductions full stop. We've got one. If we get it, we get it. But well done on the fact that you stayed up, even with the points deduction. 2 fingers up to the FA there. When am I back? Let's have a look, because I'm definitely back on Monday. But Monday at 7, we normally do the debate show. Let's Talk Leicester. We're not going to be doing that this Monday, because at 7 o'clock on Monday we're going to do the group predictions for the Euros with Doug from the Dugout Football Channel. We did the shit shirt show the other day when we rated all the European shirts. Look, watch it. And if you want to skip forward to Portugal, oh my God, Portugal away shirt. I thought I was going to be sick. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But Monday, we're going to be looking back at our predictions for the qualifying groups, and then we're going to be predicting the groups in the Euros itself, which kicks off on the Thursday. Germany, Scotland. I'm not going to be doing a lot of Euro coverage, but I will be doing England and possibly some Scotland games. We'll see how it goes. Madison did get dropped again today. That was Gareth just saying, well, he went to a top club, so I thought I'd pick him. Then I realised he hadn't gone to a top club. He'd gone to Tottenham. And as I always say, Madison went to Tottenham to win trophies. Winks came to Leicester to resurrect his career and accidentally won a trophy. Who knew? Who knew? Look, if you're in the chat, thank you so very, very much. Thanks to Ady as well. Please smash the likes. If you're new, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're watching this on catch-up, stick your comments below on YouTube. Always pleased to and always look forward to hearing from you. And if you have been listening via your favourite podcast platform, whatever that is, thank you very much for doing that. We are on podcasts, all the major podcast platforms via the TalkSport Fan Network. Paul, thank you so very much, sir. You're a gentleman. We will do something before Monday, but definitely back 7 o'clock on Monday with the Euros prediction show. Thanks very much, guys. Take care. And if I don't see you, have an absolutely fantastic weekend. It's Friday tomorrow. It's nearly here. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.